Thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to say a few words to you this afternoon. And let me begin by telling you that I know that it is very easy for politicians to attack public education as the source of every problem known to humanity. I hear it on the floor of the Senate virtually every day. Well, let me respectfully disagree with those colleagues. I want to begin today by complimenting you and the teachers and staff who work with you for the extremely effective work you do educating the children of Vermont. It is important to take a moment to recognize the many successes of public schools in Vermont, and we've got a lot of them. Vermont students scored higher on the 4th and 8th grade NEEP testing than the national average in every single tested area, including math, reading, science, and writing. In math, Vermont was one of only 5 states to post gains in both grades 4 and 8 between 2007 and 2009. In fact, this was the 4th time in a row that Vermont posted gains in both 4th and 8th grades in mathematics on the NAEP tests. In 2009, only 2 states had higher math scores. In 4th grade, only 1 state had a higher score in 8th grade. In the other major NAEP testing area, reading on the 4th grade assessment, only 1 state scored higher than Vermont. On the 8th grade assessment, our students were the best in the nation. At a time when we are deeply concerned nationally about the dropout rate, Vermont has the 2nd highest school graduation rate in the country at over 82%. Clearly, you and our schools are doing many things very well. You deserve our support, and as a member of the Senate Education Committee, I am committed to providing it. Now, I don't have to tell anybody in the room that these are enormously difficult times for our country and right here in the Congress. Some of my colleagues here believe that we can effectively compete with countries around the world by slashing Head Start and child care, by cutting Title I funding and other funding for elementary and secondary education, by slashing after-school programs and mentoring programs and extended education programs, and by making it harder for kids to go to college by devastating cuts in the Pell Grant program. I respectfully disagree. Yes, we do have to move toward deficit reduction. That is a huge issue that has to be addressed. But you don't do that by slashing education and nutrition programs for kids while giving $1 trillion in tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations. Those, in my view, are absurd priorities. In addition to all of that, as a member of the Education Committee, I am doing all that I can to make sure that the Department of Education increases its focus on the needs of rural states like ours. Just this last week, I was on the phone with Commissioner Villaseca and members of the Federal Department of Education to let them know that many rules for funding, including Race to the Top, disadvantage rural schools and schools in small states like ours. It is my strong belief that federal funding should be provided to our state without the complex and overly expensive process of competing for federal grants. There is no reason why our students and our teachers should be at a disadvantage because Washington believes a competitive model for funding with elaborate applications which are too costly for our small state is the only way to ensure quality education. Filling out forms using resources we do not have to pay for filling out those forms should not determine whether Vermont schools get the federal support that they should be getting. We have a large number of Title I students. We do a very good job of teaching them. That should be enough for Washington. I have introduced legislation that would get rid of the travesty of firing a principal if a school does not do well enough on fill-in-the-blank, no child left behind exams. This legislation would provide an alternative model for so-called failing schools. Instead of closing the school or getting rid of its faculty or its principal, a school could embrace programs which deal with the whole child and with the child's family. Growth rather than punishment seems, to my mind, the best way to improve a school. The current NCLB testing model narrows the curriculum, and by doing so, it discourages both our teachers and our students. We need to continue to find ways to broaden our curriculum to include the arts and physical activities, to include history and civics and innovative experiences, rather than narrowing to just reading, writing, and arithmetic. We need to measure student growth from year to year, not judge them by looking at how they filled in the blanks at a moment in time. I believe schools should be able to offer extended day, week, and school year programs. We know, for instance, that each summer most students from low-income families lose over 25% of what they learn during the school year. My office has provided funding for after-school and summer school programs, which we have selected in partnership with the State Department of Education, and we look forward to continuing to work with the Department of Education in that whole area of extended education. I also believe that too many young Americans, too many of our children, come to kindergarten already a year or two behind many of their peers. And what happens to these kids is they do badly in the first grade, they get discouraged in the sixth grade, and they drop out in high school. It is a serious problem, one that we have to address. And that is why I have introduced path-breaking legislation, S-294, the Foundations for Success Act, that would award grants to states to establish and support early care and education systems providing children from the age of 6 weeks until they reach kindergarten with universal access to high-quality early care and education programs. First 10 steps, then more, until all children all over America would have rich educational opportunities from birth to kindergarten. Clearly, there is much work to be done. There are those who want to privatize education through vouchers and through supplanting our public schools with huge numbers of charter schools. There are others who want to cut our budget by reducing funds for schools and child nutrition at the same time as they want to confer more and more benefits to the wealthiest people in our society. We can and we will build a better America through its educational system. Part of that work will come in Washington through making our laws better and providing needed funding for education. Much of that building will come through you, through your schools, through your teachers and your staff. So let me close where I began, by not just complimenting you, but thanking you for the work you do in educating the young people of Vermont. Thank you very much.